Hi, my name is Pat Adams, a spiritual director and blogger about the spiritual life. The consuming interest of my life has been this: how do we live a life centered in God? And yet deeper still, who am I really? What is my purpose? How do I connect deeply with God? These are the questions I will address in this video series. After the Israelites had arrived at the base of Mount Sinai, God told Moses to tell them, "You yourselves have seen how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself." Soon they were to hear God speaking directly to them, at which point they appointed Moses their go-between with God. It scared them so much to hear his voice. Have you been carried on eagle's wings to God's presence? Like the Israelites whom God rescued from slavery in Egypt, have you been brought without anything but your willingness to the foot of Mount Sinai, where God could teach you how he wants you to be with him and in this world? Have you felt those strong, wide supports undergirding your life as you listened to God's call and responded, yes? For that conveyance is exactly what God provides us so that we can be his, nestled in his arms, following his wisdom for us, protecting us, feeding us, providing for all our needs. On eagle's wings. What a vision of our lives in the hands of God and God's messenger, the eagle. For what does the eagle convey but strength and soaring and purpose and huge size flying high above the earth? We, like the Israelites, may not feel that we were born on eagle's wings to our Mount Sinai. We might have suffered greatly, wrenchingly, from leaving the known and feeling thrown into the wilderness where there's so many dangers. We may have felt ejected from our comfortable lives by some tragedy or job loss or hurricane. It can be an aching separation from the world which we have known into the great unknown, whether we walk away ourselves led by God or we are forced from our lives. At one point we felt like we controlled our lives, and now we do not know where we're going or what is next. We may feel baffled by the new surroundings, dislike the taste of the food provided, and complain about everything that was not like it was in Egypt. And yet, gradually, as we see and feel God's presence with us, we come to the point where God can teach us how to be in his kingdom, in this new land. Our rebellions at what is before us begin to fade, and we begin to see the wisdom of following God wherever he leads us. Oh, there are parts of us that want to go back, to return to that wonderful life in Egypt. But gradually we hear less and less from them as we begin to enjoy God's presence and his caring and comfort. Have you answered his call? How does he answer you back? Has he delivered you from slavery? Taken you out of this world so that you can see with the eagle's, not the human's eye? Wrenched you away from what you knew? God requires our willingness to take this journey and then provides superhuman strength and superior vision so that we can see our lives and our world as it really is. In another passage about eagle's wings, Isaiah 40:31, the prophet writes, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not be faint." God is promising us that those of us who are faithful to him, that our strength will be sustained. We will not have to depend on our own feeble resources, but will have resources like the eagle's wings. Our energy will not flag. We will be depending on God's energy, not our own. From the eagle's wings, we can see the world more like God sees. From 10,000 feet above the Earth's surface, life appears more in its great movements than in all its detail that we experience on the ground. We get God's perspective on our lives, its deeper currents, its greater depths, its truth. And we see God in everything, in every bit of creation, in ourselves and in others. It's hard for us to imagine soaring eagles, running and not growing tired, walking and not fainting. But this is what a life lived in God is like. The tasks are challenging, the work wearying, but there is the Lord supporting us in all that we do, meeting our needs, providing us with rich purpose, and generating all the support we would ever need. How else did Paul travel the Mediterranean and preach the gospel and support the local churches with truth and love? How does my friend Kevin, who is a street preacher in Texas and Louisiana, sustain himself? He doesn't. He talks to prostitutes and addicts and criminals, calling them back to God and a rich moral life. God tells him where to go and what to say and provides for his needs. When Frank Laubach in the 1930s went to the Philippines as a missionary, God told him two things. First, to focus on literacy. And second, if he wanted to get the locals' attention, he'd better get to know the locals, who were mostly Muslim. So he began to invent a system for translating a native spoken language into a written one that he could easily teach to anyone. And he got to know the local imams, studied their religion. Many converted to Christianity because of his ease with them and because he taught them how to read. And then he began to publish short works in their language because they were hungry to read. On eagle's wings. God does not ask us to do his work without providing the means and sustenance for us. Just listen to the lyrics for the song On Eagle's Wings by Father Michael Joncas. It is even more direct and wonderful.
You who dwell in the shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for life, say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock in whom I trust, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. The snare of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under his wings your refuge, his faithfulness your shield.
And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand.
You need not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, though thousands fall about you, near you it shall not come.
And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand.
For to his angels he's given a command to guard you in all of your ways. Upon their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone.
And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear
When we come to rest in the palm of God's hand, He meets our needs without a prayer or effort from us. We are born on eagle's wings, and so are our needs, the blessings He showers us with, the grace that becomes our natural state. All this and more the Lord promises us. The quote from Isaiah is often used at funerals, suggesting that we are born to heaven on eagle's wings. But the promise is more about how we will live here in a deep relationship with God. You could call that living in the mind of Christ or living in the kingdom. The promise is the same. Our thoughts commingle with His, and it becomes obvious what thinking is oh so human and what is actually inspired by God. We develop an eagle's perspective and its sight so that we see what is true before us and hear the truth in what is being said to us. No longer are we bound by the world's point of view or our own limited perspective. We are up in the area of the clouds where the eagle soars, where it catches the updrafts of air. The eagle can fly between 10,000 and 15,000 feet above the earth at the rate of 65 miles an hour. Its eyes can focus on something 5 kilometers away, so being eagle-eyed is very descriptive of someone who can see amazingly well. We are no longer earthbound or world-centered. We are more identified with God, His laws, His love, and forgiveness. We live in the mind of Christ, tasting of the heavenly feast. For us humans, an eagle can see from a perspective of 2+ miles up, a very high bird's eye view, so to speak. It's a view of life on earth from a much higher perspective than our on the ground, in the midst of the culture kind of seeing. More like God looks at human life from above, not embroiled in the worldliness, with far more perspective than we have. Oh, the music of these passages in this song, it is soaring and uplifting. And what a contrast between this raptor with its beak that can tear off meat from its prey and its talons that it could grasp and kill so many smaller animals, maybe even people. And there we are on eagle's wings, up above the fray, above all the natural ties to the earth, far above the reach of any people, being born in God's hand, to His comfort, to His healing, to His home, to the kingdom. And on our way, we give up all our attachments to earthly things, to all people and thoughts that belong to the earth. And there we are, belonging only to God, stripped of all that bound us to the earth. God uses the eagle metaphor in Exodus and Isaiah, which is echoed in the song, to lift us above the concerns of the earth, to seal in us His kingdom, to ensure that we can see more with God's eyes. He lifts us up with this imagery, countering every earthbound thought or attachment we've ever had. More than anything, He lifts us up to Himself, where we can rest in His hand, under His protection, doing His work. We think with God. We act with God. We lose the sense that there are boundaries between us. We are no longer soloing on earth, but in a committed partnership that will bring us all the fruit of the Spirit, the gift that a deep relationship with God brings. So now we can love with His love, be at peace with the peace that passes all understanding, experience joy in all that we do, have patience with everyone, including ourselves, be good and kind, be faithful and gentle with everyone, again, including ourselves, and be able to exercise self-control as we seek to help others, knowing that our own needs will be met. No longer earthbound, we soar above all the negativity of the earth, the fears, the anxiety, the angers, and resentment. We are free of it all. We are no longer captivated by belonging to this tribe or nation or that one. We no longer identify with our small self. We have let go of all our guilt and shame, and God has transformed it into a tapestry of knowing what others like us are suffering, what they are thinking, what pain they feel. And so we become compassionate and able to help others who are experiencing what we suffered from. Now able to lead someone else out of the legacy of that pain, For our greatest liability on earth, the thing that damaged us the most, is now the avenue for healing others and calling them to soar like eagles as they put themselves in God's hands for healing and transformation. Thank you for watching. I look forward to hearing from you soon.